Hi, it's Jan Stewart, mental health and neurodiversity advocate, parent, and author of the award-winning book, Hold On Tight, A Parent's Journey Raising Children with Mental Illness. When my husband David and I found out that we didn't have one, we had two children with multiple, complex mental health and neurodevelopmental disorders, it came as quite a shock to us and turned our lives upside down. Words like autism, Tourette syndrome, obsessive compulsive disorder, ADHD, anxiety, and learning disabilities had never been part of my vocabulary before. And ever since then, we've been on a nonstop emotional roller coaster ride with our children, Andrew and Ainsley, and we've learned important life lessons. In Hold On Tight, I gift readers with 13 of these key insights to help ease the journey. And now I'd like to share 5 of them with you. First, trust your gut as a parent. You know your child better than anyone else. If you think something is seriously wrong, it generally is. Of course, you have to listen to healthcare and parenting experts, but if what they say doesn't resonate with you, keep looking. I learned this the hard way. Every time I approached our children's doctor with my concerns about their behavior, ever since they were babies, he turned to me and said, "Jan, calm down. Your children are just fine. You need to stop being an overly vigilant triple type A parent." Essentially, I was the problem. I trusted him, and his constant rebuffs perplexed me, made me despondent, and took a toll on my usual confidence. It was only after a few years, although it seemed like an eternity at the time, that I came to understand that while he was well-meaning, he was in no position to help us and hadn't even recognized the need to refer us to appropriate specialists earlier. Be tenacious. This doesn't mean being overly aggressive, but if you're not comfortable with what one professional tells you, seek another opinion. Don't settle for less. 2, talk openly with your children. Children are naturally frightened when they don't understand what's going on in their lives or why they're causing such pain and havoc, both at home and at school. So sit down with them. Listen carefully, not one of my key strengths, by the way, and let them know they're valued and understood. When Andrew was 9 and going through deep distress with daily, frightening, violent meltdowns, combined with nonstop, bizarre, compulsive rituals, he told me that he felt he was going crazy and wanted to die. And Ainsley left me a note one afternoon that said, "Mom, I know I'm a bad child, but I can't help my out-of-control behavior." We were obviously shaken up, but we picked ourselves up quickly, sat down with the kids, explained that they weren't bad children, that what was going on was not their fault, and we separated them from their issues so that their identities weren't only tied to them. Importantly, we didn't hide or avoid information. It's so important, in my view, to educate and involve your child so that as they grow older, they gradually become empowered and can increasingly take part in their own treatment and advocacy. Both Andrew and Ainsley do it, and it's wonderful to see. 3, insist on an integrated partnership approach with every professional involved in your child's care. This is an all-important overarching insight right through every child's adulthood. Andrew and Ainsley have benefited from this in spades. To this day, I make sure that their psychiatrists and psychologists communicate with one another so they can adjust their approaches accordingly. Ainsley's school held monthly group meetings with her principal, all her teachers, Ainsley's external psychologist, and David and me, so that we could discuss what was happening and come up with coordinated approaches to implement both at home and at school. And today, Andrew has been employed for the last 5 years with a wonderful company that is truly inclusive. And a large part of his success is due to their partnership with us. They listen to us. They follow our recommendations, for example, bringing in a job coach for both the company and for Andrew. And they implement customized accommodations for him. He has a lot of difficulty with change and transitions between activities, so they've set his work hours the same every day, while the rest of his teammates work on shift. It's so important to have everyone on the same page as core team members, respecting one another and listening carefully. 4, reset the expectations for your life. These disorders throw every family member's life into disarray. There's going to be fear, anger, and resentment, and that's okay. I can't tell you how many times I've looked at myself in the mirror and said, why me? Why us? But the key to being able to move forward is to accept that your life is not going to be as planned for or hoped for in many ways. David and I started our lives the same as every other young parent that I know, with hopes and dreams of happy, successful children. Yet our reality couldn't have been more different. We were so frightened and drained. We had to stop having a social life for a number of years because we never knew when Andrew would have a violent meltdown or Ainsley would misbehave or become physically aggressive. We had to learn to recalibrate our relationships with certain family members who were critical, judgmental, or who thought they had all the answers. And when friends distance themselves, it's upsetting. I've had it happen. But it was compounded by the fact in my case that I was so consumed with the children's care, I didn't have the energy or reserves to invest in my friendships. I learned over the years, however, to shed those so-called friends and to instead turn to those who are truly supportive. If you're like me, in my case, those are other parents of children with mental health and neurodevelopmental disorders. Such a warm, welcoming, understanding, empathetic community. And 5th, be kind to your partner and to yourself. Now, this is obviously true of all marriages and partnerships, but when you're raising children like Andrew and Ainsley, the strains and stresses can be simply debilitating. I've heard parents blame one another, accuse each other, undermine each other, and there can be major disagreements about everything from discipline and diagnoses to medications and therapy. Remember that your children have inbuilt antennae and know when their parents aren't on the same page. Of course, David and I haven't been immune from these issues. There are many times we want to throttle each other. But the key is that we give each other the benefit of the doubt. We trust each other, and we understand that we're each trying our best. And when it comes to myself, I find it very hard to forgive myself for my mistakes. But please be kind to yourself, and remember to compliment yourself and pat yourself on the back for your strength and resilience. You are more than enough. You are your child's champion. Thank you for listening. Remember to persevere, have hope, and hold on tight.